We crowned our first king of the castle. All of our regional championships have concluded. And we have 1 week of regular season play left in all of our dynasty leagues. All this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome to the Fanatically Real broadcast sponsored by Football Darts and Fantasy Sports Alliance. That only works if you remember to unmute yourself. And again, this week, I forgot to do that part. Kevin, how are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
It was a very rough, I guess it still is, very rough Army week. It's hard to believe that it's only Wednesday because of all of the actions that took place today. It feels like that it was a Friday, and we still have 2 more days to go this week. It has been very, very rough. How'd you do in fantasy this week? Outside of FSA, because I don't think you're alive anywhere that I know of. How did you do outside of FSA?
Yeah, so I had a couple of interesting games this week. King of the Castle, I won, so I get to move up into the second rung. I pillaged Josh Allen, brought him back home, if you will. And then because of Josh Allen, I won both of my other 2 leagues, pushing me into the playoffs. The first year that I did a auction draft, a keeper auction draft, I am 4th and the top 4th out of 14, and the top 6 go to the playoffs. So I punched my ticket there, led by Josh Allen, and then my other league, the same thing, wrapped up this week, pushed into the playoffs. So 2 out of 6 ain't bad, I guess.
Is this because you said it was auction, was this a startup league then for you, your group of 14?
No, so it was not. They had been playing for a while, and I was just a late fill-in. Took over a team.
Orphan team. All right, cool. Well, congratulations on that, because I can honestly say, outside of the King of the Castle League as well, I think all of my leagues are, well, I say that I'm incorrect. I'm still alive in Ross Norris's NCFF league. I was idle this week, however, because I'm waiting for the regional championships or the conference championships over there to finish up and then figure out who I'm going to play my bowl game against, with me being the owner, the coach, whatever, of Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So we'll have to see how that plays out. So the unfortunate part for me, but let's hope that it's the writing on the wall, is I probably scored the most points this week that I've scored all year, but I did it while I was idle and didn't have an opponent this week. So let's hope that carries over into week 2 or the first round of the bowl games for us. Hey, before we get any further into the show tonight, we got to thank our broadcast sponsor, Football Darts. Football Darts is a game that combines the skill of traditional darts with the strategies of American football. This innovative dart game is played on a uniquely designed multiple target dartboard. It can be played in sports bars, at tailgate events, as league tournaments, or as a leisure activity in the comfort of your home. If you would like to check out their officially licensed collegiate dartboards, go to footballdarts.com. You can now find them online at Target, Wayfair, and Fanatics. They are the perfect addition to any man cave and available just in time for Christmas. And I know that they just started putting displays, or I guess that's the best way, probably social media posts out there for the different ways of how people are displaying their football dartboards out there. So if you get a chance to go out and look at the FSA social media sites, you'll see what I'm talking about, because we have started adding them and make sure we're retweeting them and putting them out on our stories on Instagram and all of those good things. So you can see what that is happening over there with them. A couple comments out here tonight. Damian says that he loves the hat. Very much appreciate that. And he says he's going to join John Ross's FCS league next year, which is kind of like the tier 2 for the NCFF. And I did get a message from Ross earlier today, Damian, that says that you're going to be a part of that. I know he appreciates it. We definitely appreciate it. You're going to enjoy the league. Definitely one of a kind. It's super, super awesome. definitely pay attention to that as a player, because there's some things that I would love to do with a league like that under the FSA umbrella. And Ross is kind of already tracking that I would like to do that. So Empty Wagon this week. What can we say about Empty Wagon? So they had an amazing Friday night show. They had a lot of interaction on that show. And the great part about the interaction that they had on their show was most of the people that came up, or even all of the people that I saw that came up on there, none of them were really affiliated with FSA or Empty Wagon before their interaction that night. So it shows that they're getting a lot of outside attention, which I do love. So if you're not already listening to, following Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast and Brad, Josh, and Eric, make sure you go out and find them. Google, go out to all of your podcasts, look for Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast. If you want to watch them in their broadcast version, you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all under the FSA umbrella. If you don't know what times they're on, you can go to our website at fsa-fr.com, and you can see that entire schedule. In addition to that, you can see all of our social media links going across the bottom of your screen right now. And please go out and give those guys a listen. They had a great show this past week, and Josh absolutely nailed his heroes in his heroes and villains section. I think he ended up overall going 6 out of 8 for all his heroes and villains. So a very good week for him. You can find them on Saturdays and Mondays if you're on the East Coast, right about midnight going in from Friday to Saturday, Sunday into Monday. On Tuesday nights, though, you can find my co-host that's on with me tonight, Kevin, and his brother, Average Josh, on the Average Bros Fantasy Show. Kevin, why don't you tell them a little bit about that?
As you mentioned, myself and my average brother Josh bring you all kinds of fun stuff on Tuesday nights. We highlight the previous week's winners and losers across the NFL. We give you a little bit of the NFL news as we touch on some injuries, some trades, whatever goes on in the NFL for that week to keep you up to date before you set those lineups. And then heading into the new week, we always bring to you our top dog, which we try to predict or project who we believe is going to be the top fantasy scorer of the upcoming week, and have a little competition between the two of us. But as always, throughout the show, all of our shows, I try to give you my average advice as it comes to your lineups.
I love that. I love the theme that we have created with the averageness of the Average Bros and everything that goes along with it, especially your average brother, Josh. So I do love that. So we got this great comment out here from Jared Ryan. The king has arrived. We did mention that we crowned our first King of the Castle tonight or this week in our King of the Castle League. Jared Ryan, congratulations on being the very first king in that, as we are beta testing King of the Castle this year. We will talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. Let's see how long you can hold on to that, as we still have weeks 14, 15, 16, and 17 to play. But do appreciate you being here on the show. I don't even know if you're watching the show from the house tonight or if you're watching it still at work. I do appreciate you allowing me to come home so I can do my show tonight while you guys are all still working your butts off over there at Dixon Hall. Jenna says you got this. Jenna, we appreciate you. How are you? Hope you're feeling better. And then Damien says below average. I'm pretty sure that means all the time, maybe at time. I'm not sure. Maybe he means all the time.
I would like to know how the below average comment there feels about not being king himself. Ooh. I know that he was in contention there.
You know what? That comment didn't live for very long, did it? I mean, we could go up and show it if we want a little bit, and how he said, go ahead and give me the crown now. And then he didn't even make it up there, and Jared Ryan ends up knocking him off to be able to be the king of the castle. Oh, that's great news, Jenna. I am going to text you and or call you after this is done so I can talk to you about that. That is great news. So if you all don't remember, Jenna was on with us a couple weeks ago. She's the owner of Regal Reflections, and she talked about the mirror that she's gotten, and then we put we talked about the jersey that we did for her, which, by the way, we're still working on. We have some little issues with that jersey, but I'm so happy to hear that. So happy to hear that. And if you already texted to me, I'm sorry that I missed that you did text me. So congratulations. I'll hit you up here in a little bit. Hey, let's get to the part that everybody cares about, right? So we got through the regional championships this week, and everybody wants to know who's getting ready to move on to the world championships, right? So we're going to do something a little bit different this week. We are going to do a lot of, definitely because of FSA highlight. Bill, what do you mean there? Hold on. I don't even know why I'm waiting and reading whatever Bill's typing. Let me pull this off the screen. Let me bring Coach Bill in for us tonight. I don't even know why you're typing anything to us. You're right there in the background. What the heck are you talking about?
No, I'm on Facebook. She's on YouTube. I was just saying it was because of the FSA highlights is definitely why that worked out.
No, you know what? If it was because of FSA, she sure would have had a job a whole lot sooner. She has really been working her butt off to get jobs. Her and I talked about it the other day. I really do believe she's been like applying for like up to 10 jobs a month, probably since like January or February of this year. So to know that she finally got one, I'm super excited for her. Absolutely excited for her. So if it's because of the jersey, definitely not, because we have some issues with that jersey that we are still working through for her. So as long as she doesn't wear that during the interview process, she'll be probably pretty good with that. All right, so let's get back to these. Bill, I'm going to keep you there in the background. Anytime you want to jump in, let us know. All right, so let's talk about these playoffs in each one of our regions, right? So in the New England region, the Chris Betts ends up being the New England Phoenix regional champion as he ends up beating the Maniacs in a huge surprise, especially after the great year the Maniacs have had. Chris Betts ends up getting that win, 173.4 to 172.9, a half a point win. Chris Betts are now your New England Phoenix champions. In the Appalachian region, and I'm going to pull both you and Kevin back in here in a second and talk about this, Coach Bill. The Nihilists end up beating the Ship Huggers 160 to 106. Not exactly as close of a game as we thought it was going to be, especially after the dominating performance of the Ship Huggers all season. You two played in that region all year. What do you think about this?
I was 100% surprised. I did not think it was going to go that way. I would have to break it down matchup by matchup to see where the downfall for the Shipokers was. But heading into this, as we were making our playoff push for everybody, I was kind of leaning towards wanting to play the Nihilist, as I thought that, hey, I had already beaten them once. It looked like their players had their hot streak early to get them into the position that they were on, and opposite of where the Shipokers were, kind of running a late streak of things. So I thought that was going to be the easiest route through, thinking that the Shipokers were going to walk away with it. And obviously, I was mistaken.
Bill, what do you say about that?
Well, I'll say I thought it was awesome to see the Black Lions make a playoff run at the end. Great American there. Command Sergeant Major retired, Ron Keogh. Congratulations for making a good showing.
Absolutely.
Couldn't have been a better bunch with the Sin City Kitties, Lauren, that I work with. Absolutely great football mind. Was glad to see that she finished third. And then the Nihilist, that my friend, the Secret Squirrel that I will not name, he's a great football mind. Glad to see him representing the Black Bears in the playoffs. And I think he might go all the way. We'll see what happens.
Jen, if you're still out there, I know you got to hop off. I will hit you up as soon as we get done with the show. Congratulations again on the job. So yeah, Appalachian region, a lot of fun this year for you guys. A lot of new people. Loved the rivalry between Kevin and Damian all year. Loved all of the people that Coach Bill brought on for us this year. So a really fun region this year. Ship Huggers were just doing an amazing job all year. To see him end up losing in this round, and for all of you that don't know, Ship Hugger is a former soldier of mine from when I was stationed in Hawaii. I'm really rooting for him as well, especially after a great year. But I know the nihilists will not be slackers at all when it comes to the world champions or the world championship playoffs. So a lot of fun to watch out of that the region this year. So
I will say, as we are in Army Navy week, it's great to see an Army person beat somebody named Ship Huggers.
However, both of them, I don't know, was Nihilist ever in the Army, Bill?
Oh, he still is.
Oh, still is. That's right. You did say Circus Squirrel. So, and the Ship Huggers were former Army. So, and he is out in civilian life pretty much in, I don't want to say pretty much in your area. He is in Pennsylvania. I don't know if that really puts him that close to where you're at, depending on where he's at as well.
We'll claim Pennsylvania.
But yeah, I'll have to look and find out.
He gave up the ship.
All right, let's get back to some of these other regions. Great Lakes region. So also not really a surprise because the Ohio River Monsters had a really good year, but they ended up getting beat by Turd Ferguson in this round. Final score there was 126 to 138. Ohio River Monsters moving on, and we'll see here in a little bit. Ohio River Monsters securing one of those first-round buys based on power rankings. If you're all wondering what that number is that is out there for those that are our regional champions, the number is there as the same power rating that we talked about last week. These are the power rankings that these teams are carrying into the World Championship playoffs, and this is how we ended up seeding our 6 and giving our 2 first-round buys. The top 2 teams in this power rating end up getting the first-round buys, and then number 3 will play the number 6, and number 4 will play number 5, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. Right after we get done talking about my region, the South Atlantic Dragons, where the Naughty Dogs and Sean Purcell end up knocking off Ted and the Land Sharks. Final score there was 159 to 140. Sean and the Naughty Dogs ended up missing out on his playoff chances because of me last year. So super excited to see him grab that regional championship this year and representing the Dragons in the World Championship. Hoping that the World Championship will go through the South Atlantic region this year. Sean, we're all rooting for you. And then in the Gulf Coast Serpents region, Nature Coast Colonials, which is also one of our, which is the World Bowl Championship sponsor this year, making it all the way into the regional championships and then losing to our 2-time world champion, Crab Island Hookers and Lucy James. She ends up getting that win 114 to 99. I think he was surprised that he was even here at this moment. Good on him for making it this far. I will say this. I'll say it and bring it up now. If Lucy ends up going far into the World Championship in 3 different years, 2 in which she won a World Championship, and 1 which she's won another regional championship at this point, and moving on, if she gets past this first round, and even if she doesn't, when she becomes eligible because of time of playing in FSA, she is a first-time Hall of Fame vote getter. And if you don't vote for her, there's something wrong with you. You might need to go check yourself. So I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it in the universe right now. Lucy James, first-time Hall of Fame vote getter. And then we're going to move on to the Western Wyverns region, the region that we had to create this year because of the conglomerate of everybody that we had west of the Mississippi. The Callis Cowboys end up losing to the Lunatics. Final score there, 161 to 100. So Anthony Monhay, the owner of or general manager of the Lunatics, have since PCS'd to Germany. So another great member that we're going to have in our Euro region next year. I hope he also does very well during this playoff World Championship bracket that we have here. And I'm going to shut up for a second. What says all of you out there in all of these regional finals?
I was happy to see the team you just mentioned there in the Lunatics coming out as a 4 seed, moving on out of a tough overall region to not just lock up that 4 seed to make it into the playoffs. As we had mentioned back in week 10 and 11 heading into the playoffs, how many matchups were determined on the last in the last week and through tiebreakers. So just to earn that fourth spot and then make it all the way, congratulations to him.
And you know what I'll say? I like seeing there's a lot of folks that have been playing in FSA for several years now, and there's a lot of new folks. So to me, it's great to see a good blend of, the FSA veterans and some new folks cutting it up in the playoffs. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm interested to see is out of the teams here headed to the World Championship, what is the breakdown as far as rookies versus veterans?
And without me going back and looking, because some of these guys have been friends or part of the alliance in some way, shape, or form for a long time. We missed the identifying mark on those standings this year to say who is a rookie and who's not, right? Off the top of my head, I know the Chris Betts is a rookie this year, right? The Lunatics, I've known him for so long. I can't remember if he's a rookie this year or not, to be honest with you. But the Hookers, we know she's not. She's a two-time world champion. The Nihilist, Bill brought him on last year, so I know that he's not a rookie. The Naughty Dog, Sean, I think his first year was with us last year as well, so I know he's not a rookie. The Ohio River Monsters, that's Matt FRB. He's been with us. This is his second year as well. So definitely the Chris Betts rookie. Lunatics, maybe. I have to look into that one on Anthony Monhay. But this is where we're at for the World Championship bracket now. So those numbers that you saw in front of the teams as we were looking at the regional championship is the all-play record multiplied by the quality wins for those teams after this regional championship round, which we will no longer do those power rankings after this week, the power ratings after this week. What we see here is what we're going to move forward with. Now, right now we have the 1 versus whoever wins the 5 and the 4, and the number 2 versus whoever beats the 3 and the 6. But what's going to happen is the number 1 team will play whoever the lowest seeded remaining team is that is left, whether that's B's 4, 5, 6, however that works out. And the number 2 will play the next best available one after that. This is just a placeholder as it is. But those top two teams that did come out with that power rating was the Ohio River Monsters at number 1 at 35.351, the Chris Betts at 35.090, and that's why they get the first round bye. And as you can see, the distro between the other teams. So our top team being the Ohio River Monsters at 35, and our lowest team, the Lunatics, at number 6 at 30. So very, very close across the board. This is the first time that we've used this power ranking system, for the first time that we've used them going all the way into the playoffs as far as we have. We've gotten a little bit of guidance from Ross Norris, the general manager or the commissioner of the NCFF, and how we need to change that maybe a little bit next year. Stop using the all-play record at the end of the regular season and only use the quality wins after that. So that'll be something that we probably adopt in 2021. But we're going to roll with it this year. And this is where we're at. Now, let me ask you smart gentlemen that are out there, if you're going to pick who is going to be the 2 teams playing against each other in week 16 of the World Championship, who would you put it on right now?
Let's do this. Let's go back over here. I gotta believe in the Hookers coming out. I believe that they could pull through. I think that they had a tougher run division wise, and then I see them playing on the other side. The Ohio River Monsters. I don't think that either one of those other teams have anything for them. I think they're streaky. I think that the Nihilist, having played them I had seen that in myself. I think this was just a one-off big week for them, as I thought that the Ship Huggers would have beaten them. But yeah, for me, my matchup is the Hookers and the River Monsters.
That would be a great storyline if she could at least get there. Like I said again, a couple minutes ago, without a doubt, first time Hall of Fame ballot getter. She gets in. She just got to get enough years under her belt to be able to make it to that point. Bill, what do you think?
Well, I'll say I'm looking at the lineups, and the Chris Betts has Traquan Smith, which I'm a big fan.
Make sure you call up Average Josh and let him know.
But I have to say, when I look at the Hookers lineup, that's pretty formidable. I love DK Metcalf. I love Curtis Samuel, Kamara, Kyler Murray. Sorry you had Wentz. Gardner Minshew is entertaining, but didn't put up points. I got to go with the Hookers on this, an FSA veteran. I think the Hookers are going to pull that one out. And then, of course, they're going to play the Nihilist because the Black Bears are going all the way.
So I have to scroll down here, and I'm showing you the standings of where we're at in the Gulf Coast region, right, with the Serpents. So the Serpents are 11-2. This is already showing the wins that she's had so far since she's been in these playoffs. But I promise you, if we go back and look at those 2 losses that she had, it was probably because she was unable to start a full starting lineup. I believe at least one of those losses, she had somebody that was either on bye or on IR, and she didn't realize it. Probably very busy in life because she has 2 young children. To be there with only 2 losses, let's forget about what that win column looks like right now, but to only have 2 losses. And that probably just be because she was unaware. Easily undefeatable at this point. She's probably the one, and we go all the way back up here to the top of the bracket. Even at number 3, she probably is the team to beat. If she can get past whoever it is she's got to face in round 2, whether it's the Ohio River Monsters or the Chris Betts, she gets past them and she's in that week 16 in the championship, I have no doubt that she's going to win that. So that would be our first time 3-time champion in FSA history. Again, we'll go back to the Hall of Fame thing and say she is a first-time vote getter and all of that. And Damien, I very much appreciate it, saying the power rankings have been a very enjoyable feature in 2020. I agree. We're under this new system with all of the quality wins and how that plays in with the all-play record. Even though it takes additional work out of me, I enjoy it as well. It has been a huge topic of discussion across all of our chat groups, and that makes me happy. So we'll probably continue with the same system going into 2021. If anybody sees any adjustment to it going into 2021, please come up on the net and let us know. That FRB asked, if the Hookers win, she will have to play Chris Betts, correct? Let's see. 4-5, 6-3. Yes, if she wins the first round, she is playing the Chris Betts. Absolutely. So the only change that would be to that is if for some reason, some way, shape, or form, love you, Anthony, if the Lunatics come out of this and end up winning, then they will end up playing the Ohio River Monsters. Let's see. 4-5 play the Ohio River Monsters, Lunatics. Yeah, I think as long as she wins, she is going to play the Chris Betts. Yep, I think there's no way around that. I'm not good at this stuff.
I think I like that matchup there.
Yeah, and then Jared Ryan, our first King of the Castle, says, get better at Excel. I can't teach you everything. If only you all knew what happened on a day-to-day and my day-to-day work job. This guy does rescue me every single day when it comes to Excel problems. But every once in a while, I teach him something as well. Hey, so that's where we're at in the regional playoff finals. Moving on to the first round of the World Championship, which will happen in week 14. But what we got to talk about is our dynasty leagues, as they have one more week of regular season play, which will be all interdivision play. Bill's covering his face up. I'm not sure if that's in shame or he doesn't want to admit what's going on with him in the Alpha Dynasty League, which is where we're going to start. So a very close win between the Salt Lake Stallions and the I have to sit down here and the Columbus Panhandles. I didn't recognize that logo. Columbus Panhandles end up beating the Salt Lake Stallions 92-90. Orlando Magic end up beating the Memphis Maniacs 165-136. Boston Ballers end up beating the Northern Kentucky River Monsters 147-132. Birmingham Iron end up beating the Atlantic Havoc 197-134. Dayton Triangles lose. Maybe that's why Bill was hiding his eyes just now. 186 to the Norfolk Neptunes 173. And the Red Dogs end up beating the Fargo Freeze 135-119. So what does that look like as we get ready to approach our last week of the regular season? Nothing. So because of this week, all of our division winners have been announced at this point. Our seeds 1, 2, and 3. Birmingham Iron end up taking the Western Division. The Dayton Triangles end up taking. So here's what happens in this one. If the Northern Kentucky River Monsters win this week and the Dayton Triangles lose this week, Northern Kentucky River Monsters end up getting this because of that tie that they had earlier in the year. If that's flip-flopped, Dayton Triangles end up taking that one. They do not play each other this week. So it all depends on how their matchup goes. The Atlantic Havoc ends up playing the Dayton Triangles, and the Northern Kentucky River Monsters played the Columbus Panhandles. And in the East Division, the Boston Ballers have already locked up that division win. So we at least know who 2 of our seeds are going to be. We're just sitting here waiting on the Central Division and see how that turns out. And then, of course, remember in our Dynasty League, the first, second, and third seeded teams are our division winners. And the 4th seeded team ends up being the top scoring team that is not of those 3. And that will be the number 4 seed. Bill?
So, I mean, I'd be interested in people's thoughts. I'm pretty sure Drew Lock has to be the worst dynasty pick that anyone has ever made, and I made it. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Should we take 6 next year?
In the draft?
Should we take 6 teams to the playoffs?
I mean, you know, where I'm at, bad is bad. So whether I'm number 6 or not in it, that's not going to help me. I need to not pick Drew Lock in my dynasty team.
Who else do you have for quarterback over there?
I got Tannehill, which I love.
Not a bad gig. Damian does say that the dynasty needs more playoff teams, which is why I said it. What if we went to 6? Heck, what if we adopted the new NFL playoff system and went 7 and only 5 teams don't make it? The only problem that I have with that would be regular season scheduling. Right now with a 12-team league as it is, you play everybody inside your division twice, everybody outside your division once. And then when you do it that way, it takes you down to 2 weeks of playoffs, taking 4 teams to the playoffs. And it works out that it's weeks 15 and 16. So I don't know if more is better unless we change the way the division was set up. And because this is a dynasty, I don't want to make too many changes to that because we want it consistent every single year. But it's definitely something to consider in the offseason. And the great thing
for the last 6 weeks, everybody plays Damian, and we'll see how that works out.
Everybody plays Damian. I like that. The one thing that I do like about the way we run these dynasties is all 4 of them are independent of each other, right? So if something wants to happen in Alpha, doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to happen in Bravo. And it's the same thing goes for Charlie and Echo. And as we talk about that, let's skim over to Bravo. Hold over, guys, for just a second.
Damien hops in here and says owners who have, I believe it's supposed to be Carson Wentz, have to argue that that is the worst pick of the dynasty drafts. And I would have to tend to agree. I think that Wentz would have gone a lot higher than Locke if you did take Locke. So that may be a harder pill to swallow than your case, Bill.
At least they didn't get excluded from a game for no reason because the NFL is stupid. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, I think just to recap what Brian had said, if you are in a dynasty league with us here at FSA and you want to see some type of change or have an idea of a change, you can always hit us in one of the group me chats and throw it out in a quote unquote owners meeting. If you have any ideas or suggestions or anything that you would like to see happen, float it by us. Again, we don't want to change too much because obviously it is a dynasty and we want to kind of keep things consistent, but we're not opposed to new ideas as well.
Such a crazy night happening here on the show. I can't remember the last time I got interrupted this many times on the studio, but it is what it is, right? So let's move on to the Bravo League. What I would love to do is do the same thing that we just did in the Alpha League. However, for whatever reason, MFL has decided right now during the Fanatic Hero broadcast that we're going to roll over to the next week, and we're showing the previews for the games and not the recaps for the games. So rather than show scores of what's happening after week 13, we're just going to go ahead and talk about what's going on in each one of the divisions. So in the West Division, the Birmingham Barracudas and the Omaha Mustangs easily tied at 9-4. They do not play against each other this week. So what ends up happening there is if they both end up winning, they are already tied for the year in head-to-head record. So the winner of this game, the tiebreaker, will be the divisional record. And in that divisional record, if the Birmingham Barracudas ends up winning, he'll go to 5-1. If the Omaha Mustangs end up winning, it'll go to 4-2. Birmingham Barracudas will get this. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking out loud. Sorry, completely distracted by the knock that I just got at the door. Birmingham Barracudas have won as long as the Birmingham Barracudas win this week against the St. Louis Gunners, Birmingham Barracudas are going to win the West Division of the Bravo League. In the Central Division, we have the Jacksonville Sharks and the Pottsville Maroons who are playing are tied at the time. Right now, those two teams will play against each other. Whoever ends up winning this game will end up taking the division. And in the Western Division, the win by the Jets and the loss by the Lions put both of them at the 9-5 record. They will be 1-1 for the year. But the Jets already have the divisional tiebreaker because of that. So if the Jets end up winning, the Jets end up getting the Bravo region. Are either one of you even participating in the Bravo region this year?
I know I am not. I am in Charlie and in Delta.
So I'm an Alpha, and hope to be an Echo if that turns to be a thing. But
That's
I will say,
we're talking about that tonight before we
I initially I thought it was a little bit wonky, whatever. But I love the fact that the names are like defunct real teams, because that's pretty cool. And it's way better than the lame names that everybody chose in the big league. I'm just kidding. I love y'all. Sign up for FSA next year. But it definitely adds a fun twist to the dynasties, that they were actual real teams, and gives kind of a sense of geography to it, which I think is fun.
And I'm glad you said that because you weren't the first person that came up with that. So one of our redraft guys that's out there that plays in the Oklahoma League, he's actually the commissioner that has the OIL League. He said the same thing too. He came to me and said, "Hey, where did you come up with this idea?" And the actual idea grew from we were trying to start a free FSA league to get people to kind of cut their teeth on what FSA was about. And we were going to use the same rule set that we would use in a big league that would be paid and everything like that. And you would get the money out there. But because it was going to be free, what we didn't want to do was spend a lot of time doing logos for anybody. So I did research for like 2 years to find out defunct teams that were out there, teams that no longer had copyrights or trademarks that were out there. So we could pull these in. And then we came up with this idea for the dynasty, and then we applied it to it. And he came back to me and said the same thing. He said, "Where did you come up with this idea?" Justin Clyburn came up to me and said, "Where did you come up with this idea?" And it was completely by accident. I mean, I'll just admit it. But I do like it as well, especially when we can put a historical game plan to it. When we talk about the LA Galaxy and those guys that played in the XFL back in the early 2000s, when we can put the AFF guys on there and stuff like that, it does really. And Bill, you've told me quite often, I don't know why you spend so much time on this or certain things or graphics or this or something like that. But in something like this, it really has paid off for us. I like it a lot.
Well, I'll just say, you went with the idea to save on time on logos, but the amount of time you spent on my logo was awesome. So this is where FSA has value, in that Brian appreciates your brand so much and wants to make sure you're happy with it, and I think that's what's awesome about FSA.
Well, we talk about the time put into it and how awesome it is, and the amount of time spent. Then you have guys like Kevin that has decided that he wants to change his logo mid-season of all things and make me do extra work for him. Holy crap.
Burn him at the stake.
I know, right?
I mean, it's not my fault, okay? I came up with an idea. I liked it better than the original, so I went ahead and I did a mid-season jersey change, and here we are.
Well, I do like the idea that the branding might give you the edge to win in the second half of the season. So I appreciate that part.
I will tell you this. The branding doesn't mean anything. I had the Nightbreed for 25 years before I decided to change. I'm the Monarchs for the last 2 years. It has done nothing for me. Kind of like being a Jets fan has done nothing for me as well. Damien says, when will discussion happen and when it comes adjustments or possible changes in Dynasty? Very, very soon, Damien. We will start working the off-season stuff as soon as we get through our playoff picture, which is week 16, week 17. That gives us 5 weeks going into the NFL playoffs for all of us to get together and decide what we're going to do for 2021.
Yeah, I would just to kind of reiterate and hit that again. If you are in a singular division or dynasty league, any ideas should be floated into those groups or two players within those groups. That way there's no confusion across leagues. They are independent of each other and can have identities of themselves. So if you're in the big FSA group through GroupMe or on one of the Facebook pages, kind of remember that not everybody in those groups will play with you. So take whatever ideas are in there as a grain of salt because it may not apply to you. With that being said, Damien, ideas do have to begin sooner than later as far as Dynasty because the turnover of the league happens sooner than redraft because of the actual NFL draft and then the subsequent Dynasty draft, the 4 rounds that we have. So start thinking of them and float them out there. I'll be more than happy for Delta and for Charlie to sit down and talk to you about it offline, but sooner than later that will come up.
It's come up quite a bit this week. A couple of the leagues, or a couple of the members that are in multiple leagues have asked, when are we going to pick up trading again? We already have it on the calendar as not to pick up until 1 March, which for us, from a business standpoint, is the beginning of our fiscal year, if you want to look at it that way. We will have another show the Wednesday after the Super Bowl, and then FSA from a business kind of takes about a 3-week, 2.5-week break as we don't do anything, and I do air quotes because I'm still working in the background during all of that. What I would like to do is continue making that back one effort for the following year to start sooner and sooner. For, let's say, for 2021, that we're already started working on it on this side of 2020. But we have asked, why don't we have trading all year round? Is definitely something to consider, especially in each one of these dynasty leagues, how the members of that feel. And then maybe we will change that. I don't see us changing it bridging 2020 to 2021, but I do see us maybe making at the end of 2021, changing when that happens. And I'm not looking to do it across all 4 of them, or maybe 5 if we do get an echo, which is great because we have independence of each other. That's what these leagues are all about, of having the independence of each other. So if one wants it, doesn't necessarily mean it has to be across all of them. Before we get too deep into that, let's get into this Charlie Dynasty League. So right here in the West Division, the Coyotes have the tiebreaker already in this. So if the Arizona Hotshots end up winning and Coyotes end up losing, Coyotes will already end up having that tiebreaker because of the division wins. And that means the Coyotes already have the West. Florida Tuskers already have the Central, as you can see that with 1 week of regular season left to go. And the Scottish Claymores, who have been dominating all year, have already won the East. And the Charlie, let's move quickly over to the Delta. In the West, the Hammerheads and the Wings have already split this year at 1-1. Depending on how this game turns out, if the Wings end up getting her win, she'll be 5-1 in the division. Corpus Christi Hammerheads, if he ends up losing, will be 4-2. That means the Hammerheads will end up winning the West. The Wings will win the West if it goes that way. If the Hammerheads end up getting the win and the Wings get the loss, of course, you already can see what that looks like. The Steel Valley Smash we mentioned last week was the only team that already had a division locked up in all of the dynasty regions, so nothing changes here for them. And in the East, we actually have a head-to-head matchup that's going to decide who ends up winning the division, as the Miami Seahawks play the Orlando Apollos. That game's scheduled here on the right-hand side if you can see it. The Miami Seahawks already favored by 19.1 points. I don't know if the Orlando Apollos have their lineup in yet or not, but at least we have one more division that is dependent on a head-to-head matchup. The only game that we have that is dependent on a head-to-head matchup, and that pretty much ends where we're at with Dynasty. Kevin, where did you end up? Oh, you know what? We can't get out of the dynasties before we mention this. There is this game here. Let me see if I can. And you know what? There's just not enough Zoom in the world tonight to see, make it visible to everybody here. What does this say right here?
That is the New York, New Jersey Hitmen versus the more superior Knights of the same location.
More superior. Two things here. Who won game one?
That would be the Hitmen.
Okay. And this minus 13.9, what does that mean?
That means I have not set my lineup.
That's what you're going with, huh?
That's exactly
what you're going with. Okay. So if I went with
classic response.
Say again, Bill.
Classic response.
Yeah, right. So when I win again, what does that mean for the two New York, New Jersey teams?
I think one has to move. I think
King of New York.
Ooh,
I think they
I
have
like
to.
that idea. Okay, so let me ask you this. That's a very good point. We've built these dynasty leagues based on defunct teams, yeah. And the way we built these divisions was based on where they are at inside those divisions based on the 12 teams. However, though, okay, look at it this way. If you win, we split, right? So we can go into 2021 with a split. However, if I win, maybe you should be forced to rebrand. Ooh.
That's a possibility.
Oh, I like it.
See, Bill made a face like he likes it too. I like it.
Call what do I? Am I the case of the Oilers? Too many teams in the area. Gotta head on out.
Gotta move it. You know what? As long as you stay inside that area to keep you inside that division, that's what I care about. So we'll talk about that, but I like that idea. I think it's a great idea, actually.
There are a lot of failed teams in the Northeast that you could pick up,
Yeah, I'm sure there's more out there. I've got a list of them here on an Excel document somewhere. I can help you pick one out.
Because teams in the Northeast fail often.
Hey, so let's go over and let's talk about the QB54 Arm and Leg League. I'm going to go ahead and pull up what that bracket looks like right now, and hopefully everybody understands what they're looking at when they're seeing this. So in the QB54 Arm and Leg League, we ended up in our what would be quarterfinals this week, right? And they already have the game scheduled on there. So Toby ended up beating me. Jonathan Broughton ended up losing to Randy McCarty. And as you look in the AFC side of that bracket, Jonathan Broughton and Toby K will be playing again for the second time in this bracket, as they already played in week one. If you don't understand what this bracket and what you're looking at, what the QB54 Arm and Leg League is. So this is a league that is sponsored by QB54. Awesome product that's out there for tailgating events. We started this league where you only start kickers and quarterbacks. You have 4 people on your team. You start 2 each week, 1 quarterback, 1 kicker. And we are playing for a set of QB54 Arm and Leg or QB54 chairs at the end of all of this. And what we're doing is a Euro/Australian type playoff where the number 1 team that's coming out of the 5 ends up getting a first round bye. 2 plays 3 and 4 plays 5, as you can see it there on the bracket. Other than the 4 and 5 team being a single elimination basic game and I'm getting kicked off of it, everything else is double elimination after that. So in this week, myself ends up losing to Toby K after he had already lost to Jonathan Broughton in the first round, which moved him down. Against me, I get knocked off. Jonathan Broughton ends up getting knocked off by Randy McCarty, and Toby K and Jonathan Broughton are playing again this week for the opportunity to play against Randy McCarty over in the AFC side. On the NFC side, we end up losing Sean Purcell this week. Sean had already lost as the number 2 seed to Bob Reddick. He goes up and loses to Jared G this week. Jared G ends up moving out after his win against Sean, and now he has to play Bob Reddick, who lost to Anthony Monhay. Anthony Monhay now has a bye going into the next round. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. I like this system so much that Kevin and I were talking about it before the show, that if we can figure out a way to do multiples of 10 or a way of just pulling 5 teams from each one of the regions, conferences, whatever it is that we have for 2021, I like this playoff system. We might use this moving forward for any time that this would allow. Do you guys like this system? I would love for you to nitpick at this right now.
I personally do. It gives more of a flair to FSA as a whole. When we talk about why play FSA and why we're so invested into this thing as we are, is because of all of the oddities that we do offer that is not necessarily out there. We're not looking to be ESPN or your daily leagues or anywhere else you may play fantasy. This is something truly for the people, by the people. And what I mean is anytime we have an idea, we want to put it in there and spice it up and change it, and we don't want to become stale and just be average, like my brother. When we talk about these leagues here, we want to be as up to date and as for lack of a better word, as spicy as we can be. So to play fantasy football for, I don't know, 10, 12 years as I have never seen a playoff format as such.
Rookie.
So to incorporate that into something, I would love to see more often.
Well, of course, we know Kevin's a rookie when it comes to fantasy football, but I
He's
love
so
the
young.
Didn't I beat you? Didn't I beat you, Bill?
let's not don't let
Shots
details
fired.
get in the way, okay? But the arm and leg league was super fun, and even I didn't appreciate the scoring details, and I was like, Kyler Murray, he's a great quarterback. Oh, turns out he runs for half of his touchdowns, and it didn't work out that well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a fun format to play, and I look forward to playing it next year.
So some of the things that I have thought about for the Arm and Leg League for next year, and I think I've brought this up on other broadcasts before, but I'll bring them up here again. Right now, as we use a tiebreaker player, because without having decimal points, there's a very good chance that we're going to have a tie. And I think it's happened a couple of years this year. I would love to find a way to add decimal points to this to make it less of a chance for a tie. Right now, the quarterbacks are the only ones that can get negative points. The kickers cannot. So thought process behind that is use something more similar to what we've got from a kicker standpoint on the regular FSA scoring, where if it is a 34-yarder versus a 37-yarder, you'll get that decimal point. So it'll be a 3.4-yard field goal versus a 3.7. If they miss an extra point or a field goal, they get some negative points on them. I think that's fair. From a quarterback standpoint, I think we're going to keep the 6 and 3. However, when your quarterback does throw a touchdown, the yardage that is attached to that touchdown will add as a decimal point to that touchdown. So let's say quarterback throws a 99-yard touchdown. That touchdown would be worth 6.99 points. Quarterback throws a 1-yard touchdown, it would be 6.01 points. So, and I think that would be the way to keep us from having any tiebreakers next year, and probably a way of people starting maybe less quarterbacks or less kickers as their tiebreaker, because they know they're not going to get negative in that case. So we have to be able to do negatives for the kickers if we're going to have negatives for the quarterback. So some changes for next year. So Damien's asking when members can sign up for next year. The fiscal year will start on 1 March. So we will open up the FSA-FR.com website to start accepting memberships for 2021 on that day. So it doesn't matter if you forget that I just said FSA-FR.com, because I'm going to remind you a lot between now and then. So you won't forget, I promise you. You'll be ready to sign up for it when it's time to go.
So I just want to bring it up.
Open it up now.
I just want to bring it up now because I know that Damien will be interested in this, as well as many of the other Dynasty players that we have here. That's kind of the reason for the trade talks, to kind of answer the looming question is why we have not opened it up year-round as far as trading and making it a set date, is because of the fiscal year turnover of FSA. You kind of have to keep in check what teams can do if they have not already put a commit into play on that year. Although, yes, a dynasty, we assume everyone's going to play every year. That may not always be the case. So when we have a hard start with the dollar amount associated with as far as a buy-in on trades, that makes it for a more fair outcome of the teams.
So, Kevin, I know you did not get in the Arm and Leg League last year or this year. Are you going to get into it next year?
I am not only going to get into the Arm and Leg League, I am going to win the Arm and Leg League. So,
like
yes.
I like that confidence. Hey, before we get into all of the upcoming schedule and what the rest of the playoffs look like for the year as we move on with our World Championship, finish up the regular season for the Dynasty, move on from the quarterfinals to semifinals for the Arm and Leg, and we continue with the King of the Castle. I wanted to show you, you all have seen some great things that have been given to me by other members of FSA. I ended up getting this amazing light from Randy McCarty that you all saw months ago. I have this great painting by one of our former sponsors that's out in the hallway. I am like humbled by the stuff that I get from you all. This right here is so amazing. So this comes from Heather Newman and a person that she knows locally that does woodwork like this. And I went and picked this up yesterday. I wish you could see the detail that is in Walter in this because it's unbelievable. I saw this picture a couple of weeks ago, and it does not do it justice until you actually have it in your hands to see all of the woodwork that is here. And it is done by a lady named Barbara. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you her website right now on Facebook. It's Barbara's Door Decor and More. Please look at that URL that's up at the top right now. Go out on Facebook and look up Barbara's Door Decor and More. If there's anything that you want from her, please hit her up. If you want something specific for your team, please hit her up. I was in awe when I picked this up yesterday because, like I said, I had seen it in pictures, but I had not had it in my hands yet. And the amount of detail that's in Walter between the stars, the actual edging that's done on this, the cuts that are done on this, the painting that's done on this, it's just unbelievable. So I have to thank Heather Newman. I can't thank Heather Newman enough for getting this for me. And we can't thank Barbara enough for the work that she did on it. So please go out. You can see this awesome display that she's got up here at the top for the Masters. In case you don't know, I'm in Augusta, Georgia, which is where the Masters is played every year. Of course, it got changed on the schedule this year because of COVID from April when it would normally happen until Veterans Day weekend. But please go out and look at her stuff. If you're not already liking her, please go out and like it. In fact, I'm going to do it right now because I hadn't done it yet either. I just pulled her website up for the first time tonight to make sure that you all could see it. If you're out there right now, all 6 of you that are watching, please go out and like her Facebook page. And if you want something done for your team, please reach out to her and see what can be done. If you want something and you need a graphic sent over to her, please let me know. I'll send it over and have it done for you. But amazing, amazing work. And once I finally get it displayed on all of my displays of everything here in the man cave and the extension of the man cave, I'll make sure I take a picture of it and post it out to you all. So it would look great with the Evil Empire. How all of Bill's teams, what do you got out there? You got the Neptunes. What would look really great is on your Merman. The Merman logo would look amazing with that on there.
Oh, I'm a fan. I'm gonna have to order something.
Yeah, I would say with the way that she's done the edging and the cutting, the scales that are in your Merman's fin there, that would look awesome. You definitely have to get that done. So I hope that she's out there. I know she was going to watch tonight because we were going to show that to everybody. So I hope she's out there tonight seeing that. If not, I'm going to make sure Heather makes her watch the replay. So Heather, about an hour into the show, have her start watching then so she can see that we put that out there for her. You guys got anything you want to say before we get into this? What does our schedule look like from here forward? And what does those primetime games look like for this week?
That is it for me so far.
Bill the Third.
I want to talk about these games, but I don't think we're going to talk about Denver in these games. So I'll just say Denver got fucked. I'm sorry. It's a kid's show. I shouldn't have dropped the F-bomb. I'm sorry. I did it already. It's done. I can't take it back.
Can't take it back. Are you wait a minute. You're not a Denver fan. Where is this
I'm
coming
not. I'm not at all. I'm a common sense fan. And what happened to Denver is just unjust.
You mean the fact that they had to play?
Well, I mean, Des Bryant got pulled off the field right before the game. Should they have put the whole wide receivers room on quarantine and said, "Oh, sorry, you can't play"?
That's what I was about to bring up. You said Denver got effed. What about Des Bryant getting pulled off the field last night?
Yeah, why just him? Why not every wide receiver on the team? And you know what? Here's the thing. I'm so happy they put all of those quarterbacks from Denver on quarantine because they definitely had the corona. Oh wait. No, they fucking didn't.
It came out
they were all fine. They could have played.
They could have played. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to figure out
why do you completely jack up? I'll use PG terms. Some teams and not others. That's the problem. That's the problem. Like, this is not scientific. This is not evidence based. This is just the NFL being fucking douchebags. All right, I'm done. I'm off it.
Too many F-bombs in one night.
All right,
face those out. Yeah, I agree with you. It does seem like it's like picking and choosing at this point, especially with Dez not being able to go out on the field. And I'm trying to figure out what that looks like, right? And Damian says it right. He has every reason to be upset what happened to him. Now, I will say that maybe he did sound like he was whining a little bit whenever he posted all those things that he put on Twitter last night. But why?
No, he wasn't whining. He followed the rules. He followed the protocols. He did everything that he was supposed to do. And then he was about to play. He was about to just be an artist and perform and score 1,000 touchdowns. And they were like, "Nope, sorry, we don't."
What's even more shocking is that he caught something. That's where I'm surprised at.
He said, "Oh, I get what you're saying. Oh, the catch. I got you."
Yes.
Funny. No, I was thinking he did post out on his Twitter, though. He said, "My routine hasn't changed. I have done nothing different than what I've been doing ever since I came over to Baltimore." So what does Baltimore gain by pulling him out? Two things. First off, I see Dez playing against a former team. Maybe he has a little bit of chip on his shoulder. Maybe he balls out. Why do you not start this guy when you don't have the best group of wide receivers on your team? Why pull him to get tested? And was he really positive? Or is this a medical staff saying he was to get him off the field?
I would put it this way. I would take Dez over either two of the other top receivers outside, not named Mark Andrews, on that team in Duvernay and Marquise
Hollywood Brown. Yeah. Yeah, like I agree with you. Even after removing
or science, it's some bullshit. The NFL is propping this pseudoscience up. It's stupid.
Yeah, I was upset and said some not so choice words about how he was crying over Twitter, but when I really reflected on it, and I thought, yeah, he really did get effed in this situation. It's a bad call by the team and or the NFL for pulling him from last night's game.
And why didn't the entire wide receivers room, get put out like they did to Denver?
Like Denver, you know what? If you're going to do 1 for 1, yeah, if you're going to do apples and apples, why not? You're absolutely right.
And why did they make Denver play, but they rescheduled other games? You know?
Well, I mean, you got Taysom Hill as the quarterback on the other side of that ball. So, I mean, what's really going to happen? Yeah, he did not turn out bad. Yeah, the last couple of weeks he's done quite well. Hey, so we already talked about the regional playoffs, which happened in weeks 12 and 13. Now we're in the World Championship, which is going to happen weeks 14 through 16. The Alliance Invitational Bowl games happen this week, week 14. In case you didn't remember who was involved in that, it's going to be the Music City Miracles versus the Unicorn Legends, the Lumiere versus Factory of Sadness, Greenbacks versus Average Joes, Kalunga Clan versus the Koalas, Vols versus the Mad Scientists, the Labradors versus TDs and Beer, and 99 Problems versus you, Kevin. and that will be all of our Alliance Invitational Bowl games. In week 15, we have our rivalry bowl games. These are all of the teams that just lost recently in the conference or the regional championships. From the New England region, that will be the Maniacs versus the Appalachian region of the Ship Huggers in the Southern Siren Sugar Scrub Bowl. In the Great Lakes region, Turd Ferguson will represent and compete against the Calloused Cowboys from the West in the Cranky Veteran Candle Company Bowl. And in the South Atlantic region, the Land Sharks will face the Nature Coast Colonials out of the Gulf Coast in the Shells and Mel's Boutique Bowl. Quick cough. And then we will have the All-Team Bowl in week 16, which will be right after our Fanatically Real Bowl World Championship versus, you already all said tonight you like the Hookers' chance of going at it. I know that Bill the Third likes the Nihilist chance at that. Who do we really think is going to be there?
Black Bears, Nihilist.
I don't know. It's a toss-up at this point.
I do love that this year, probably more than any other year since we've created these regions, how people have found like, hey, I am with my region. If I can't make it, I want my region to win it, right? Everybody's kind of taken that camaraderie and wants to go. Sean Purcell says, I like the Naughty Dogs chance. That's because Sean Purcell is the general manager of the Naughty Dogs. However, he is in the South Atlantic region. I like the Naughty Dogs chance as well. He's even changed his uniform as he goes forward to the playoff run as he's gone through his dress uniform. If you haven't got a chance to look at it yet, go out and check us out on the GroupMe chat room, and you get to see what that looks like. But Naughty Dogs, South Atlantic Dragons, that's where I want to see the World Championship come through this year. Let's make it happen. All right, so we had some issues with the King of the Castle League earlier this week, earlier today, a couple hours ago. We are still using this as a beta test. We're trying to figure out what it's going to look like in 2021. I don't know what's going on with the rule set in MFL. I have the rule set as it is in all of the other FSA leagues, but for some reason it's not acting like any of the FSA leagues. We have players just willy-nilly being able to add and drop players without going through the waiver wire process. All that being said, we've got weeks 14, 15, 16, and 17 still to play around with this King of the Castle to get it right for 2021. I want it to be a 2021 thing. Please let us know if there are any rules that you think need to be changed. I will tell you the latest and greatest things that we are thinking about are changing the starting lineups to six starting lineup spots, 8 total roster spots, only 1 quarterback start, 2 maximum on your roster. That is the start for right now, and maybe even lowering the quarterback numbers slightly, pillaging 1 player, waiver wire from worst to first based on total points for the year, regardless of what level you're at, and maybe even a punishment to the pillaging team if they decide, not if they don't decide to pillage a team, if they don't meet the deadline of pillaging a team, maybe punishing that team. But that is the biggest question mark of all of that. All of us are in the King of the Castle League. What do you guys think of it so far?
So far, I like it. I think it's for your more in-tune fantasy players. It's something that encompasses a little bit of everything that you can find out there. Obviously, your week-to-week head-to-head matchups. You have a structured league setting where you get 16 teams in a group, but then you also get the fun of a daily fantasy league where you have your pillage happen, no trades outside of that. So your team does change quite a bit week to week, and it is very waiver wire driven. So I like that week in and week out. I personally am not a fan of the winning teams being able to hit the waivers, but I know logistics is a little bit tough to shut them on and off as they go through. But all in all, I do like it. I think that next year I will be happy to have the King of Kings trophy on my wall, which will be put back here at some point when I hang up my trophy rack. But I think all things considered throughout the beta, it should go off, knock on wood, without a hitch next season.
I think Bill the Third would have something
Have
to
to
say about
wait
that
for
trophy on
next
the wall.
year to hang his trophy on the wall.
Exactly right. I think you have something to say about that.
I absolutely love King of the Castle, mainly because it's the only league that I'm still competitive in. Because we started late.
So
in the season.
Damien says something interesting. It said it'll be interesting to see how easy it is for somebody to climb back up after losing one game before hitting the king title. So Damien did lose in this round before coming to king. He's all the way back down at the Esquire level right now. So it will be interesting, right? We've got 4 weeks left to test this. We've got a few other ideas that we can throw out there as we get closer and closer to the end of the season. I definitely do want to this castle work, the King of the Castle League works great with the FSA theme. I definitely want to see it be a thing next year. I just want to make sure that we are locked in 100%. We've got that rule set. We know what will make everybody competitive. It will give the opportunity for every team to be a king sometime during the season. Everybody get their money back. That's what I really want to make sure that we do.
Well, I think that is what's the most interesting thing about the league is, how do you make it competitive for people that get beat so that the people that win don't just stay at the top? And I think that's hard for a league to balance that with, hey, I fucking earned this spot, right?
I think the biggest thing that's going to help that is recently us thinking about lowering the roster size, the starting lineup size, and taking the second quarterback or the superflex position out. I know Kevin and I talked earlier tonight. Kevin still likes the superflex position, but I think what happens is you make a super team of quarterbacks almost. So I took a quarterback this week in my win. Kevin, I'm pretty sure you took a quarterback as well.
I took a quarterback, but I will say that I don't believe that has any bearings because the quarterback that I had dropped and I won with was Colt McCoy. So
interesting. Okay.
I had started 2 quarterbacks and won. My 2 quarterbacks were Colt McCoy and Ryan Tannehill. So now I have Tannehill and I have Josh Allen. But I could have played any number of receivers and way outscored Colt McCoy. It was just what I was given because, again, you have to remember that once you've been pillaged in the current setting that we have, it's via trade. So you're not left with an empty roster spot. I was given Colt McCoy for somebody that I had on my team. So in return, now I rolled with Colt McCoy because I was like, you know what? Let's go with the matchup instead of trying to fight over the waivers and try to put in a better position spot. I needed another running back. Let me look at that versus a higher rated quarterback and rolled with it. It panned out, but now I get Josh Allen. So you also have to remember that even in a super flex where there's the chance to start 2 quarterbacks, it may not behoove you to do so with the amount of good receivers and running backs in the league.
Damian Gratt says a new king will be crowned this week. He must be sitting at the Grand Duke level right now. And then Damian Scott says, my quarterback got taken by the king. Seems to be the way to go. I agree. Seems to be a lot of quarterbacks taken this week. Maybe the super flex is still a thing if maybe we lower the points for the quarterbacks. What if we went to 5 or 4 per quarterback touchdown pass? Maybe that changes who you start. Just
and I think the key to mobility is what you make the top players give up. So we talked about maybe giving up your top point scorer to kind of help folks go from bottom to top.
Bottom to the top. So talking about a recycle or doing like an escalator type thing. I did talk about the king possibly giving up a player. And I do like that, the interesting fact of what you just said, because when Ross and I talked about it, we said, hey, what if the king gave up a player, right, once they reach the top? The king is already probably going to give up a player whenever they have to do a swap, whenever they do their own pillaging, right? But that is, hey, I'm probably going to drop the not so great player on my team versus what you just said is the best player on your team to give back to the masses or to the the Esquire or something like that. So maybe that's something to think about.
I mean, but hey, being at the Duke level, maybe I'm just not in tune with the peasants there at the lower levels, so I don't understand what it's like. I mean, not everyone can win like I do, so I understand that. You can't appreciate what it's like to be at these higher levels of society. So maybe we need to drop more players for the peasants.
I actually don't. I don't dislike the idea. Like, I mean, I sent it to Ross earlier this week and said, "What do you think about this?" For those that don't know what the King of the Castle League looks like, it kind of looks like this right here. So here's King of the Castle and what we're talking about. So we have 16 teams that start in this league. All 16 start here at the Esquire and Lady level. And as you get wins, you move further and further up this league. As you win 4 in a row at any time during the season, you will end up being crowned the King of the Queen. On your way up to that level, you're pillaging one player right now. And then your waiver wire run is going to be worst to first based on total points for the year. That's what we have adopted so far for this year. And then Kevin said something earlier about a blueprinted schedule for each week moving forward, which is something we also adopted last week before this week happened to make sure that every team has an opportunity to hopefully move up a level. It will be something. I think it will be something very, very good and great. We just have to get that rule set finalized to make sure that we can make it good and great for 2021. Hey, we've been talking about this stuff for a very long time. Let's get to our primetime games, and then let's get the heck out of here for the night at an hour and 21 minutes right now. Thursday night football, New England versus the Rams. Rams favored by 5, over under 45. I'm taking the Rams. Kevin.
New England.
Gosh, you're such a homer. Bill, we got you on the show tonight. What do you think?
I don't want to take up a lot of time, but what you find is, some coaches need quarterbacks and some quarterbacks need coaches. They say good coaches, adapt the game plan to work with their players. They say good players can adapt to any game plan that their coaches play. What we found is Belichick only has one game plan and it doesn't work for Cam Newton. We found that Arians only has one game plan and doesn't work for Brady. That means Brady and Arians and Belichick, they're all mediocre coaches. So fuck Brady, fuck Belichick.
That's like 7 F-bombs tonight.
Who are the Patriots playing?
The Rams. You don't even care. You
All
don't want the
Rams
to win. Kevin, you had your hand raised.
Yeah. 45-0, bud. 3 touchdowns, 300 yards.
You know what's funny is the over-under this week is 45. Do we again think New England is going to score all 45 of those points?
Against the Rams?
Yeah.
That's a good possibility, except they have except the only issue with playing the Rams is their front. You got to play Sir Aaron Donald, So
yes and yes. I just barely lost out in my Meathead League this week with the commissioner, Matt Kroll, who's also in the FSA League, just lost this week in the regional championship. LA Rams defense is for real. There is a reason why they are 5-point favorites in this game. And Bill and I will high five at the end of this week when the Rams beat your homer pick of the New England Patriots. Sunday night football. Check this out. I had to look at this, double and triple look at this when I looked at who's favored in this matchup. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Pittsburgh favored,
Buffalo
right?
Favored? No, Buffalo's probably
Buffalo is favored by 2.5. with an over under of 46.5. What do you think about that one, Bill?
Well, I have to say I don't love either team, and I loved watching the Steelers get beat by the football team. But when I look at the teams, the Steelers have a better lineup, so I'm going to go with Pittsburgh this week.
Kev?
See, my heart says I want Pittsburgh to win this game. For obvious reasons, the Patriots are still in playoff contention with a Bills loss at some point in the next 4-game stretch. I just don't think it's going to be this one. I take Buffalo.
So, I want Buffalo to be my new team so bad because I am so done with the Jets.
I love it.
Yeah, that I am going to pick Buffalo this week. And if for some reason Buffalo ends up losing to Pittsburgh, which is highly likable, Pittsburgh's got a great team this year, right? We cannot deny that. I mean, some people try to go out there and say, well, they haven't played anybody yet. I don't believe that. You don't go 11-0 with playing a whole bunch of nobodies. So,
well, I mean, they did, but
I'm going to pick Buffalo this week. If Pittsburgh wins, Buffalo and Josh Allen will be forever dead to me, and I will not consider Buffalo as my new team ever again. But for this week, Buffalo over Pittsburgh Steelers. And then on Monday Night Football, we have Baltimore at Cleveland. 5 weeks ago, we would have probably said, no brainer, this is going to Buffalo. Buffalo is still favored by a point, but only a point in this game, over under 46.5. This could be a great Monday night game. Kevin, who do you like in this one?
I am going to go with the only team in recent memory that I've seen have 2 top 10 running backs on the same team, regardless if they're both healthy at the same time, in the Cleveland Browns.
I like the philosophy behind that.
running backs, you're talking about running backs? So, okay, hold on. I've got a bad history of picking quarterbacks because I love Nick Foles. But
What?
Nick Foles
Baker
doesn't even
Mayfield threw 4 touchdowns last week. Okay. He is an NFL quarterback, and he will take this team for a victory this week.
Wait. Nick Foles that plays for the Chicago Bears. Yeah?
Yeah. What am I missing? No.
I'm making
You
sure
said that
I'm
you like-
understanding.
I'm saying I made a bad pick there.
You don't like Nick Foles, or you do like Nick Foles. I don't know. I don't know what you're saying anymore.
I missed that one. But I'm saying I love Baker Mayfield.
Ah, okay. You like Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, because he threw 4 touchdowns last week.
Oh, why was I confusing Nick Foles with whatever you were saying then?
Because I said, look, I made some bad picks with Nick Foles.
Yeah, Big Dick Nick has not been doing it for you.
No, I know. I went big on Big Dick Nick. And I missed.
So are you saying you like Baker this week then in Cleveland?
I'm saying I like Baker Mayfield because he threw 4 touchdowns last week.
So over under, I think I might have said already 46.5, same as the Pittsburgh Buffalo game. It's at Cleveland, right? That's a tough place to go and play. Always is.
If they had fans.
If they have the fans there, right? Dog pound and all of that stuff, the crazy ass weather, but Baltimore sees the same thing too. You know what? I would probably break my daughter's heart if I picked Cleveland.
Probably.
Yeah, and you know what? I love my girls. So we're gonna go with Baltimore in this. Even though secretly I think Cleveland it's a trap game for Baltimore. Cleveland's already ahead of them in the division. Baltimore really needs this win.
Here's something to think about, and you don't really have to give us an answer because I know it will break your daughter's heart. But did you see anything from Lamar and or the Ravens in general playing the Cowboys last night, a far lesser of a team than the Browns, to say that they've got a shot to play with the big boys within their
Absolutely
division?
not. I mean, I really do believe Cleveland has an amazing opportunity to win this game. Easily opportunity, especially as they did not play great. Was final score 34-17 or something like that?
Yeah.
And Dallas being last in every defensive category that's out there. Cleveland has a great chance of winning this game. But I cannot run around from now until Monday saying that Cleveland's going to beat Baltimore because I'll probably have a teary-eyed daughter walking around the house the rest of the time as I'm saying that. So I'm just going to go Baltimore just to keep the ladies happy in the household.
Smart move.
Let's see. Damien says, when was the last time the Ravens played on Sunday? That's a funny question. I don't know. You need to answer that for me because of all of the other stuff that's happened. That is actually pretty funny. Hey, let's start winding this down and get the heck out of here. An hour and 31 minutes. My Lord, right? So for those of you that are not playing in any playoffs this week on the redraft league, does not matter. Continue setting a strong lineup this week because you're still playing for a $75 purse at the end for being the top scoring team. That top scoring team is going to go all the way through week 17. So make sure you continue setting that lineup. Our upcoming broadcast, we've got Empty Wagon Fantasy Football broadcast at 12:01 a.m. East Coast time on Saturday. That podcast will be a broadcast at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. We will be back ourselves on Happy Hour on Sunday at 8 p.m. East Coast time, roughly about the start of the game, 8:15. Empty Wagon Fantasy Football broadcast will be back on midnight going from Sunday to Monday. And then that broadcast will be released as a podcast at 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Average Bros, Kevin on with me tonight with his average brother Josh will be on at 8 o'clock East Coast time on Tuesday nights. I have to tell you, I did very much like that you guys switched roles last night. It worked out pretty well for the two of you. And then we will be back next week, Wednesday, 8:30 East Coast p.m. You know what we need to do? We need to do the same thing next week. Kev, you got the show next week. I'll be your man, I just messed it up. I'll be your Ed McMahon to your Johnny Carson next week. You're probably not old enough to even know who Johnny Carson is. And that's sad to me.
I get the reference, but I did not have the pleasure to see his shows live.
Man, God. That's unfortunate. It really is. Bill, before we get out of here for the night, what says you, man? You know what? Now that I say that, I don't even know if Bill's old enough to remember Johnny Carson.
Can you show the screen that I'm sharing?
What are you sharing?
It's a YouTube video.
Okay, let's go for it. What you got? I don't hear any audio.
Can you hear the audio?
No, sir.
No, you didn't share correctly.
How do I? Okay, hold on. Stop.
You got to stop it. I can't.
How do I share the audio?
Good question. If it's not a video, I'm not sure. But I'm going to assume from the video that you were showing.
It's an Army Navy video.
Army Navy game is
the hell out of Navy.
Sean Purcell, are you still out there? You Navy boy. Army versus Navy this weekend. Since the Ohio State and Michigan game has been canceled, I guess that's probably the only game to watch this weekend. Go Army, beat Navy.
That's right.
That's right. All right, let's thank all of our sponsors for this week. QB54 is the Arm and Leg League sponsor. Football Darts broadcast sponsor. Nature Coast Tailgating World Championship sponsor. Finger Lakes, Cranky Veterans, Southern Sirens, Deep South Creations, all bowl game sponsors. Don't forget about Shell and Mel's bowl game as a bowl game sponsor as well. And then, of course, the Recast, the official music of the FSA. Thank you for watching the show tonight. If you would like to go out and find us on all of our social media stuff, they're right there coming across the bottom. Go out and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. What else are we on? Don't forget to check out the website, fsa-fr.com. And, parting words from my two awesome guys tonight.
Don't, as we mentioned a few times here, unless you are Damien and the Mad Scientist, please don't forget to set your lineups and, pay attention as we are still playing for something across all of the FSA leagues. Brian, I have to wish you no luck this week, as you will be the lesser of the two New York, New Jersey teams. And I'm hoping not to have to relocate or rebrand myself as we move forward here. And as always, Coach Bill, it's a pleasure to have you on.
You know what? I think that it really is a very good rivalry. I think you should relocate the New York, New Jersey Knights if you lose this week. That would be amazing. I think you should. Now, you still have to stay inside that division because I don't want to mess anything up. But you should move out of the state. I don't want you there. I think that should happen.
I gotta see if there's another New Jersey team because I'm already well, what if I did that? Because I am the New Jersey Generals in Charlie. I
Bring
could
them over.
Yeah, I could technically swap. I'll just move a little further south.
Chris Simpson out of Europe, out of our Euro region in the redraft, is actually using the Fargo Freeze in a couple different leagues as well. So it's a possibility if you want to bring the Generals over, you could do that, I guess. But I still don't want you in the same town as me. There's not enough room for the both of us.
Yeah, we'll be out of the same town. I'll be playing out of Atlantic City instead of out of the Meadowlands.
We'll see how that works out. Ross Norris, co-creator of the Arm and Leg League and the future King of the Castle League, and also the amazing NCFF League and FCS on with us right now saying hello. Ross said he was going to catch some of it live tonight. I'm going to assume since he's coming on an hour and 37 minutes into the show, he's not catching it live, which means he's going to watch us later on at 2 times speed to get through it as fast as he can. I wonder what that's like to watch all of us at twice the speed. Bill, you got any parting words for the night?
Well, I do think it's fun that we got some military competition going. I think it would be super fun if we had all of the military academies represented in some sort of contest next year. So let's figure that out.
It's funny because Ross brought that up to me or something similar to that to me probably about 2 weeks ago. So we can definitely talk offline about that. Absolutely something to work towards. I think it would be another one of those selling points for FSA for sure.
But most importantly, the only competition that matters in the entire season, go Army and beat the fuck out of Navy. That's
I thought in my entire 20-year career we were never going to see it. I've seen it once so far in my 18-year career. So let's hope we can make it twice before I retire. I would appreciate that, Army.
I sat in the cold 4 years and didn't see it happen. So it's especially sweet now.
For those of you who don't know, as we're getting out of here for the night, Coach Bill III is a West Point grad. So he was there during those 4 years for the Army-Navy game where they did not get a single win. Because I know he was in less time than I was, and I've never seen them. I've seen them win once in 18 years. So I know you have not seen them win while you were there live. That is unfortunate. So. All right, let's get the heck out of here. Kevin, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to bed. This thing might get released later than normal. I don't even feel like downloading it tonight. I got to get up early in the morning. Army is calling my name before the Army and Navy game. So I'll see you all that are out there in the Alliance on Group Me bright and early tomorrow morning. You all have a great night.